We are on the way to Avatar 2. Look out! We could drown in this one.
Aye!
Can they drown? It doesn't matter. We'll talk about it when it comes
James,
out.
it does matter. You built that universe. You don't want to factor in whether they're going to drown or not.
I think some should drown and some shouldn't, and they don't explain why.
Oh, I think they should. I think some should drown and some shouldn't drown, and there should be a really long involved situation where some of them are at the doctors and they're like, "You've got the gene for you drown. You're a Navi. You can drown." It's very sad. Don't go near the water. I know you're all about the way of water, but don't. You shouldn't do it.
So if everyone could please leave a like, because on the way there, we're going to look at 3 movies which inform that movie coming out. And the second on our list is 1997's Titanic. And the thing for me, Mason, about this movie is, considering like the scale and the story and the effects and the attention to detail to replicate everything and the cost of it and the way that it was a nightmare to make and come together.
The wetness
And the era it was made in.
A very dry era.
A very dry era,
so,
yeah.
Making it wet was all the more difficult.
I think this movie is great, but I feel like it should be the movie Pearl Harbor.
What does that mean?
Because that movie's not good and
you're saying break this down for me, James. You're saying in theory this movie should be bad,
yes,
but it's good somehow. Okay,
yes,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I would even go as far as to say is it might be James Cameron's best movie. Now, you've never seen this before.
I've seen it now.
Good, I'm glad, because I'm about to ask you, what do you think of this?
Look, this is one of the most popular movies of all time.
Oh, wow, Mason, that's a
Literally-
really interesting opinion.
Well, here's what I'm saying is literally billions of people have seen this. So I don't know. And this is, decades later. I don't know if I'm going to have any fresh takes on this.
Sure.
But here's one that I think you'll find particularly fresh. It's pretty long, isn't it?
It is pretty long.
It's a long movie.
But was it something that you were like, boy, this is dragging?
Well, here's the thing also. Perhaps it's just because of the nature of most of the movies that we watch for this series.
Yeah.
At the start of this movie, I'm like, this is a fun novelty. Sort of a historical drama romance. This is absolutely delightful. And then when the ship hits the iceberg at like an hour 45, and I check the runtime and there's still like an hour 45 left, I'm like, we're doing this in real time, are we? We're going to... Ship's going to sink in real time. Okay, here we...
From then on, it's pretty much nearly
Because I
in real
do
time.
know, I do know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
To the famous ship, the Titanic.
Sure.
It's going to sink, and then it's going to be the namesake of a bunch of novelty Thai restaurants throughout the world.
Yeah, well, that is true. But also, you love a slobs versus snobs story.
I do. Well, that's why I like the first half of this so much.
Those rich, smug fucks.
Yeah, right?
And their little petticoats and their long tails,
Yes.
Mason. I hate them.
And we got such a beautiful protagonist in the form of a young Leonardo DiCaprio, so young that a present-day Leonardo DiCaprio would potentially consider dating him, which I think is wonderful. We got Kate Winslet. It's a very charming, very charismatic, leads in there.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful cast. Generally, we've got Kathy Bates.
Yep.
In there, we get...
Arnold Schwarzenegger cameos apparently at one point.
What, is he one of the smokestacks?
That's right. I think he's just in
Wow.
the background at some point.
Wow.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about this?
There are other people. I just mentioned Kathy Bates. I love to see who is it? Victor Garber as the designer of the Titanic. I thought he did a great job.
I love to see the scientist from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, as Billy Zane's right-hand man, Mason.
Yes.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the production of this actually began in 1995 because James Cameron shot footage of the real wreck of the Titanic, and he did so by persuading 20th Century Fox to give him $4 million up front. Because he said, well, look...
Give me $4 million. That seems like his style.
It does, doesn't it? Because he thought...
Give me $4 million or I will kick you in this office. I'll kick you. I know it's your office. It's irrelevant.
But I'll kick you.
I'm the king of this office and I will kick you.
Because also, it was excellent marketing for this that James Cameron was doing all this research. And he really did. Because, everybody in this, even characters who don't have speaking lines, feel real due to costuming and research and casting. I think that works really, really well.
Let me ask you this question, James.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton as the captain of the diving team.
Yeah.
With his cable knit sweater and his little gold earring.
Love it.
Is that James Cameron? Is that also meant to
Oh,
be
it's
James?
probably James
Did
Cameron.
he have a
yes.
little gold earring in that era in the 90s?
I couldn't tell you for sure, but I like to think so. But
He has gold earring in the 90s vibes, though, doesn't he?
oh, big time, massively, yeah. But the thing is, as well, it was cheaper to shoot all this footage, which a lot of which they used in the actual movie, than to replicate that using model work.
Yeah, I bet.
So it absolutely makes a lot of sense. And also, I figured something that you love about this is Deborah Lynn Scott's costuming. Now, considering there's 100 speaking parts in this movie and over 1,000 extras, all of which needed to be dressed in lavish period costumes, Mason,
Sumptuous.
surely that was something you appreciated.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And the transit, the My Fair Lady style transition of DiCaprio in his ratty old pea coat and his flannel shirt and his suspenders into his white tie and tails. Oh my goodness.
And doesn't that
A
haircut...
real rags to riches story, but still a slobs versus snob story.
I agree. Those slobs, though, they know how to have fun. Unlike those rich people smoking their brandy or whatever they're up to. I don't know what they're doing.
Throwing some poor people on the fire. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Down in the the coach class cabins, poor people are only going in the fire if they want to.
That's exactly right.
For a bit of a thrill.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that I appreciate in finally watching Titanic,
Yep.
I got to finally understand all the memes. It's been 84 years. I'm the king of the world. Paint me like one of your French girls in the nuddy. You know?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I get them all now, which is
Yeah.
great.
Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But did you...
All nude style, yeah.
I think the reason, though, why this got so many people is that it really is literally like one of those 4-quadrant films, but it works in all of those quadrants. See, my dad's favorite part of this movie was seeing all the big pistons spin about.
I bet it was.
That's not a joke.
Yeah,
I
no.
remember seeing it, and my dad afterwards was like, I wish we saw more of the ship, how the ship worked. Yeah.
You uncover an old VHS copy that's been hidden behind some other stuff in your dad's office, and you get it out, and you're like, "What's this? Why is it stuck at this point? This tape?" And you put it in, and it's just the pistons going. It's like, get out of it, get out of it. If there were some blueprints in this movie,
God! Well, they got the real blueprints.
I bet they
They
did.
went back to the original place that housed them. They thought they were lost.
The blueprint house?
The blueprint house, and they did it because they built a pretty much to-scale Titanic, one side of it,
Yes.
and then when they filmed on the other side, they just reversed the footage.
Oh.
They probably parted Leonardo DiCaprio's hair on the other side
Oh my god!
for continuity's sake.
They would have had to swap over all the buttons on
They
the
did
jackets.
That's exactly
That's
right.
flawless in that case.
I
Well
completely
done.
agree.
Well done, them.
Yeah. But I think the love story on this, it really takes its time to establish the characters. And it's, it is cheesy, and,
Oh, it's
that's
cheesy,
kind
yeah,
and,
for sure.
he negs the hell out of her, and the way he finally wins her over is like,
Yeah, but that was the style at the time.
it was the style at the time, and,
Negging and peacocking and so forth.
that's right, yeah.
Putting a feather in your cap and calling it macaroni.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so forth.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And some things never go out of style, Mason.
That's very true.
Yeah. But, the way he convinces her is like, you're a spoiled brat, but I love you. You should leave your husband or whatever, because I'm great. You're rich. I hate you.
Look at me do this skateboard trick.
I do remember, though, at the time, and Kate Winslet spoke to Mark Maron about this more recently, is that she felt that there was a lot of personal scrutiny concerning her weight in this movie and in this era.
Yeah, right.
Which is also ridiculous, because it's like the last thing you think when you see her. You're not like, oh, man, bit on the heavy side, you know what I
Sure,
mean?
right, uh-huh.
She's obviously like a beautiful and fit woman. What a crazy era. And there's still a little bit of that now, but at least you can put somebody, who's not like heroin chic in a movie and everyone's like, or most people are like, yeah, that's a normal person or a very good looking person. Insanity, Mason.
Make you think, doesn't it?
It makes me think all the time. Now, you mentioned the iceberg. Now, the iceberg is actually...
I did no such thing.
You said at the halfway point they hit the iceberg.
Oh, I did say that, yes.
A lot of people don't know this, but the iceberg was actually a big factor in the Titanic sinking.
Huh.
Yeah. And what I think this movie does really well...
I thought it was the Irish. I thought it was the Irish's
No,
fault.
the Irish were the heroes, Mason. They built the ship. The ship that was the...
Oh, the unsinkable ship that sunk? Well done, the Irish.
Yeah, but what I think is great about this movie is it really conveys just the incredible slew of bad luck and just the arrogance.
I mean, mostly the iceberg, honestly.
Yeah, but just the way that if they had have hit it head on, they wouldn't have sunk. If it hadn't have breached that many compartments, they wouldn't have sunk. If the people looking out for the iceberg hadn't been looking at Rose and Jack, it wouldn't have sunk.
If the band had simply stopped playing on and gotten out some buckets and done some bailing, I think everybody would have survived.
I completely agree.
Well done, the band, who are probably Irish.
But what's really cool about the way this ship sinks is every time it
Excuse me?
What's really cool,
Why don't
Mason?
you go and tell that to the bloody survivors of the Titanic? What's really cool about how the ship sank?
Hey, listen up, everybody who
They're
survived.
all dead, I think.
Nah. I don't care.
Okay.
I'll say anything.
Yeah, that's true.
What's really cool is at the start of this movie, there's the guy who very crassly, describes and shows to 100-year-old Rose, hey, this is how the Titanic sunk. It hit this and it goes up and it breaks off and it floats down.
It was sick as hell.
It was sick as hell. And then you watch that unfold, so you know how it's going to happen.
That's true.
And I think that's a really clever way of filling the audience in on what's happening. So if you're an idiot and watching this, you're not like, why is the ship standing up? That doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
There should have been some cutaways then during the sinking of the Titanic back to the present day, and that guy's just like checking his watch. Like, I said this. God. I said it would tip up and I did. God. This lady. My God. You're preaching to the choir, lady.
Yeah, I told you that.
That's right. You're old.
And we talked about The Abyss last week and the idea of like sinking sets and using water in movies and all of that, and how maybe you'd accidentally nearly get someone killed. We'll talk about it later.
no.
I've got a whole section on that, mate.
Sounds like someone hasn't learned their lesson. Sounds like someone who's had massive success with his normal working process has decided that's the way to go and he's going to do it again.
Maybe, Mason. I don't think we've ever seen panic on this scale captured on film quite like this. Just people climbing over each other like rats. There's shots where, Rose is in the water.
You obviously haven't seen any footage of Black Friday sales.
Well, that's very true, Mason. But
gotta get that flat screen TV.
But that's real, Mason. That was real
true.
footage, and this was all.
This is all lies. I understand.
This is reenactments.
DiCaprio, imagine you can't get that last flat screen TV.
But that shot where Rose comes out of the water after the ship goes under and it pulls back, and there's just 1,000 people just writhing and panicking at the same time, and so she's just one of many. And then Leonardo DiCaprio punches that guy who's drowning.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's good stuff, Mason.
Cop that snob.
Yeah, cop that snob. Yeah, and even things like the terror of, well, one, Billy Zane chasing them around with a gun with his floppy wig. Love that. But when Rose...
We've got bigger problems currently, Billy Zane. Give it a bloody rest, mate.
Stop it, Billy Zane.
God. Have you seen outside with all the water and so forth?
Oh, yeah, you were going into this. Your one memory of this movie was when he says, another round of drinks, my good man. Did you feel like there was a moment that captured the spirit of that?
Ooh, not really.
Really? I think you encaptured his entire character and performance in that, Mason.
I think his arc is more like another round of drinks, my good man.
Like a slick rat in a wig.
Like a slick rat in a wig, exactly, yeah.
He's wearing a wig, just so everybody knows. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good wig. But
It's a good wig,
it's
yeah.
a great wig. But the moment where DiCaprio is like chained up under the sinking ship. Not under, he's in it.
Sure.
And she's just roaming the corridors looking for help. Just harrowing, and she's dipping in and out of real frozen water in real life, and and there's somebody trying to drag her upstairs. It's like a horror film. It's all the quadrants, Mason.
Do you think there was any moment on set where somebody considered for a moment, hey, when she goes to chop the handcuffs off, what if she cut off one of his hands and he had to run around for the rest of the movie with a squirting stump? Pretty funny, right?
That would be pretty funny, and that would hit a quadrant as well.
That would hit a quadrant.
Yeah. Got some standout moments here that I want to talk about. Now, you mentioned it already, but I love Bill Paxton's big 90s hoop earring. Big fan of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Love it. Glad you brought it up, but I wanted to bring it up again. I think there's one effect in here which is not quite up to the standard of literally every other miniature and CGI effect and real sunset that they filmed and wig and all of that.
Well, how could it compare to the magic of nature, James?
Yeah, it's a great
Sunsets
point.
and so forth.
No, you're right. So there's a moment where they're being chased down the corridor by a big swell of water, and it's
I'm gonna get you.
And it's a very clear face replacement on the two leads.
Oh yes,
and
absolutely,
I've always thought it was odd, but because I hadn't seen this in like 20 years, I never realized why. And now it's just like, oh, that you attempted something way too early
Yeah.
and for way too long. They do it in Jurassic
Just two
Park.
surly stunt guys,
Yeah,
Ryan.
that's right.
One of them smoking a cigarette. They had to cut that out as well.
Exactly. They do it in the first Jurassic Park.
They should have left it in.
I agree. But have you seen, though, even more recently, somebody put Arnold into this movie over Kate Winslet?
Oh, I didn't see
And it's
that.
just like this flawless deep fake, which you could just do now at home. Yeah, incredible. Another thing I like.
Or in a park and do that and enjoy the wonders of nature also.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I love when the guy hits the propeller on the way down.
Sure, of
Big
course.
fan of that. He spins more than that propeller spinning, Mason. It's
Oh,
really
mate.
fun. That guy's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, but he'd be dead now anyway.
Yeah,
so,
true.
no.
And also,
No big loss.
No, I don't think so. And also, I love that rich guy got his brandy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, we're all gonna drown together. I'd love a brandy. And you just think it's some offhand remark by some dipshit, and it is. But then when you cut back to him and he sees the horror of the drowning unfolding, he's got a brandy, which means somebody got him a brandy. I think that's terrific. Now, there's a number of ways that people interpret the ending of this movie, Mason.
Okay, sure.
So I like to think that in the world of Titanic, which is our world, Mason, Rose and
but
Jack.
a little bit more magical.
Yeah, a little bit more magical. Also, the staircase is bigger. They made a few things in this bigger or smaller to make it look better.
Sure.
So the staircase was smaller in real life than what they made it here. I want a more
The
grandeur.
hallways, way bigger.
Yeah.
In real life, they would have been squeezing through. Everybody had to die hard through all the hallways.
How do you?
Go on a cruise, they said. You'll have a great time, they said.
I interpret it that they end up in the afterlife together, right?
Okay, sure.
He's been waiting on the Titanic the entire time, which makes me wonder, where's her husband waiting?
Sure.
The guy that she married afterwards. Like it's
Where she met him outside a 7-Eleven.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, is he waiting at a Heaven's gas station or something? Like, what's going on there?
Great point.
Is she going to do shifts? Like, come back and forth?
Between her two great loves,
I want to.
maybe.
I want to know who it is because does he compare to a young Leonardo DiCaprio, Mason? We'll never know.
That's true.
Would you like a sequel to this? Who did Rose marry?
Yeah.
And
100%, yes.
it's just called Who Did Rose Marry? Who was that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Cuck-tanic. Titan cuck? Titan cuck.
Titan Coke, very good. Now, there's something also I wanted to talk about and then show you explicitly. Now, I just feel like old Rose should have just given Bill Paxton the diamond.
Sure, the thing he's been looking for
Yeah.
forever. And she
You don't want it.
doesn't need it. She doesn't need it or want it. Sure,
Now, I'm going to show you something, and then
Okay.
we're going to cut ahead to after you've seen it.
Okay, great.
This is the alternate ending that they...
So this is real. This isn't Corridor Crew.
No,
or
no,
something.
this is-
isn't funnyordie.com.
No, this is...
This isn't a smosh.
No, it's not, none of those things.
Okay.
This is real. So we're just going to halt the recording for a second.
Okay.
First of all...
Awful.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't seen it,
I want to apologize for how long that is in real time, by the way.
oh my god. So for people who haven't seen it, so at the end of regular Titanic, a present day Rose, it goes out onto the research ship by herself, and she throws the precious jewelry over the side of the ship to represent her finally having some closure or whatever.
Yeah.
But in this
and
clip,
it was heavy. She was sick of carrying it around.
yeah, right. So this clip, in this alternate ending, the research crew follow her onto the deck of the ship, and they all have a big round robin conversation about whether she should or should not throw the jewelry overboard. And Paxton's like, "Oh, can I just hold it for a second?" And she's like, "All right." And then he's
You'd
like,
think he'd just snatch it.
You'd think you'd snatch it, or somebody would. The big guy
if he's
guy
James-
with the beard and glasses would tackle her or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd think because he's James Cameron, he'd kick her over the edge.
Right.
I'll kick you.
I'll kick you.
Give me it.
I'll give you one of my big signature kicks. But and there's a lot of conversation, and then Rose explains the theme of the movie in words. For people who didn't get it in the previous 3 hours. She's like, sometimes the important thing is living your life and having fun in every moment. Look out.
Look out, yeah.
And sometimes the most important thing isn't a big jewelry, which is why I'm going to throw the big jewelry over the board. And then Bill Paxton's like, good point, lady. Anyway, hey, Rose's daughter, you want to dance on the ship?
And
You wanna
everyone
have a little
laughs.
Dance? Yeah.
And now-
And then some guy's like, "Oh, I think this is funny. I gotta call my wife," and it fades out. But I gotta call my wife, and she said she'd divorce me if I didn't find this jewelry.
Have you ever seen such a clear-cut example of leaving something out of the movie and it benefiting so much.
I mean, the only other example I can think of off the top of my head is that just that cut moment in the end of Terminator 2 where the T-1000 is pretending to be Sarah Connor, but we pan down and she's got like those big liquid metal booties.
Oh, I
on.
like that bit.
Yeah, you would, mate. But
Wouldn't I do?
So did Cameron cut this out of his own volition, or
Yes,
did somebody
he
make
did,
him
yeah.
do it? Okay,
he
right.
was involved in so much of the... Well, he's very hands-on and foot-on often.
Absolutely.
Some executives have found.
That's right.
So, yeah, I would imagine this final decision came down to him. Also, though, I guess...
if you've got them all there, though, and you're on the set, you may as
yeah,
well
it
film
makes
it
sense
just
to
in
film
case.
it. Yeah,
You could put in some snippets of it, or,
Yeah.
use one line
Well, they
or something.
clearly use some stuff from it. Like,
Yeah.
when it lands in the water and spins about. Like, there is some stuff in
Yeah.
there that we see. But the score in this movie, James Horner, incredible.
Yeah.
Really incredible. And that Celine Dion thing was a very late addition because he didn't want any like modern music in it.
I see.
But that song went to sell like it went multi-platinum probably.
Bad
or
news
whatever.
for Chumbawamba. They were going to use tub thumping for most of this.
Yeah, that's right.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Oh no, I'm DiCaprio. I've drowned. Man,
Very sad.
what if it turns out that he sucks? Like they stayed together and she was
Oh,
like,
sure.
this guy sucks.
I just want to go around the world and be a rat. I just want to jump various ships and be a rat on the ship. I want to get free grub.
Come be a rat with me, Rose. Yeah. Anyways.
Also, I fall in love with every woman I meet. That's why they're all in my sketchbook.
Yeah.
That's. See you later, baby.
I'm a rat.
I'm a rat. I'm a horny little rat.
So,
Yuck.
yeah, I agree. So this was a nightmare of a time, and here's a section called "This was a nightmare of a time for Kate Winslet."
All right.
I mean, for everybody, but more specifically her. So the crew felt that James Cameron had an evil alter ego and nicknamed him Midge, which is, of course, Jim spelled backwards, Mason.
Oh, I get it.
Now, many of the cast and crew members came down with colds, flu, or kidney infections after spending hours in cold water, including Kate Winslet. James Cameron infamously threatened to fire anyone who would dare get out of the tank for a bathroom break while shooting the lifeboat scenes.
Just piss in the lifeboats. They would have done it. They would have done a piss in the lifeboats.
Leading to more than a few actors, including Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, relieving themselves in the water. And Kate Winslet was one of the few actors who was not allowed to wear a wetsuit during the water scenes because of the clothes she was wearing. You would see it. And as a result, she got hypothermia and nearly quit the production. Several people left. 3 stuntmen broke bones, and both cast and crew got exhausted from all the peril and long days of shooting. Kate Winslet admitted that often she woke up on days of shooting thinking, please God, let me die.
Well, that's bad.
I agree.
It's one of the worst things you can think, I reckon.
Kate Winslet's jacket got caught on the iron bars at one point.
What?
Yes, that's right.
Jacket's in peril.
She was underwater, Mason.
Uh-huh.
I had to sort of shimmy out of the coat to get free. I had no breath left. I thought I'd burst. And Jim said, or Midge, I guess, okay, let's go again. That was his attitude. I didn't want to be a wimp, so I didn't complain. Kate Winslet suffered bruises so impressive that the makeup artists took photos to use for reference later.
Oh, no.
She also chipped a bone in her elbow. Kate Winslet said also, as a result of this, you'd have to pay me an awful lot of money to work with James Cameron again. Even though she is apparently in Avatar, some of us can drown.
Interesting.
Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio...
Well, he does have a lot of money to throw around, so...
That's true. Yeah, it's a big budget movie, isn't it? Leonardo DiCaprio also acknowledged that it was a tough shoot, yet stated that if he was ever to do another action movie, he would do it with James Cameron as a director. So there you go. Also, do you know this story? How somebody...
I don't know what... You haven't said it yet.
Let me tell it.
Tell the story and then ask the question.
Somebody may or may not have spiked some clam chowder in this movie that went to the cast and crew with PCP.
Huh.
Now, this is a fascinating tale.
Okay.
But I have an entirely separate video on this. If people want to check it out, it's linked below.
Well, that's a bit of sizzle.
I think
That's a bit of
so.
sizzle for the clam chowder, I'll tell you what.
Definitely.
Are there famous suspects?
Yeah.
DiCaprio?
No.
Huh.
Yeah.
Kathy Bates?
Yes.
She would, wouldn't she?
She did it.
Was it the Irish?
There was the Irish too.
I knew
they
it.
teamed up.
I knew it.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say before green trivia?
No.
Mason, it's time for green trivia / that guy shouting Rodney.
Hooray!
Most of the stuntmen in the engine room, which my dad loved, by the way, were only 5 feet tall to make the engine room look bigger. They even did that thing they did in Aliens where they used a big mirror to make it look like there was more space and stuff. They did that in Aliens with the pods opening because they couldn't build all the pods.
Oh, that reminds me. There's a little there's a little cameo appearance from that lady.
From Aliens, yeah.
The
Whose
woman
name is Janine...
Garofalo.
No.
Oh.
Jeanette Goldstein.
There we go.
Famously not Mexican.
Correct.
Or Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does it all. Shout out to my dad, whose favorite thing was the Big Pistons. Yep. James Cameron. He drew the sketch of Rose himself.
Huh.
He has a background in artistry and special effects and all that. He did a lot of that before he was a director because he wanted to get it absolutely right. Now, the drawing reportedly sold for around $16,000, but neither the concluding price nor the identity of the person who bought it was revealed.
Oh. Some pervert, probably.
That's right. Now, Kate Winslet actually beat out a number of very well-known name actors, including Reese Witherspoon and Gwyneth Paltrow.
My goodness.
That's right. Maybe she regretted it because of the chipped elbow bone and the fact she nearly drowned multiple times.
Reese Witherspoon, Gwyneth Paltrow swanning about their perfectly unmarred elbows. Look at them.
They think they're better than us.
Gwyneth Paltrow selling, elbow healing goop from Goop. Kate Winslet's there cutting a check every month.
This is a slobs versus snobs story,
It
isn't
sure
it,
is,
Mason?
isn't it? Yeah.
River Phoenix was wanted for Jack before his passing. Johnny Depp reportedly also passed on the role, which he regrets, before it went to DiCaprio. Have you seen the Titanic in comparison to a modern cruise liner? It is dwarfed. Anyway, here's the picture.
Interesting. Okay.
You'll see when the
Alright.
video comes out.
Okay.
You have to watch this video too.
Yeah, great. Dwarfed both in terms of size and disease. Just floating disease vectors.
Can you believe they're checking people for lice on this? Ridiculous. Just let them on the boat. Who cares?
Just let them on the boat. Just let them off wherever. Just let them mix with the population. Whatever they have, whether
Don't
it be
ask
lice or
anybody's
something
name.
else.
Yeah, exactly. Early in production, the film's brief decoy working title was Planet Ice. Now, planet translates roughly to blue and ice to harvest, which was also obviously the working title of the original Star Wars. That planet ice thing is real though. The other, it's not real. It's
He's done it again.
That's the joke that I do.
He's done it again.
But the planet ice part is true.
That's terrific.
Yeah, great.
When you die, we're going to chip all of those onto your tombstone, all the Blue Harvest jokes.
In 2012, Entertainment Weekly reported. I'm Bob Newhart.
I'm the other one.
Reported that the movie was going to be re-released in 3D. Now, James Cameron...
Was it?
Yes.
Nice.
James Cameron didn't update a single effect or fix any errors except for one. So
He put it in 3D.
Well, that and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's actually personified on the internet, just ruining fucking everything for everybody.
The fun stopper.
And sometimes wrong also, often wrong.
Sure.
He said the stars in the sky were wrong, because of the position of where the boat was and whatever. So they changed the stars. Okay. Thanks, Neil. You're a real service to science.
Wow.
Fucking sick of that guy. I'm sick of his shit. Shut up. In 2013, pop science show Mythbusters attempted to nix once and for all the idea that both Rose and Jack could have fit on that big bit of wood, right?
Okay, right, because it's not just about the space of the bit of wood. It's about water displacement or something.
Thank you for saying that, Mason. Now, they figured out that if Rose had have scooched over a bit...
Oh, no.
But
scooching wasn't a thing back then.
Couldn't do it. There was too much chivalry.
If you were like, excuse me, could you do a scooch? They'd be like, excuse me?
What did you just say to me?
My husband is going to challenge you to a duel. Ask me to scooch with you.
So they figured out if she removed her life jacket, gave it to Jack, and he would tie it to a portion of the door underneath that he was occupying, then yes, apparently it could have worked. If only they'd have thought of that at the time, Mason.
If only in the panic of nearly drowning and being abandoned in the middle of the ocean, they'd thought to do some rough back of the envelope calculations on water displacement.
Also,
and some scooching.
Also, they're two of the only people in this movie that weren't real people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you can actually visit the real Titanic, as in the sunken Titanic.
Restaurant, the Thai restaurant.
No, Mason. The sunken Titanic. You have to apply, though, to be a mission specialist, whatever that is.
It's paying a lot of money.
It is, and that's right. An Ocean Gates term for someone who is part of the submersible team, Mason, and pay $125,000.
There it is.
It's as easy as that. I'd be really disappointed seeing that staircase. The staircase is slightly smaller. Also, apparently the stair's not there anymore. Box office.
Because everybody takes a piece. If you're a mission specialist, you get to take one bit of the Titanic.
Now, the box office return for this movie, Mason, it had a $200 million budget, which was more than the cost of the Titanic itself to build, right?
How ironic.
I agree. Also, one of the initial ideas was to just rebuild the Titanic for $10 million.
Okay.
And then James Cameron was like, how many times can I sink it? And they were like, well, once.
Right.
And he was like, well, I might need to put some of it on a platform and tip it up and whatever. So no, they spent a lot more to like build various models and sections and all of that. And the whole thing could like dip into the water. Incredible. Despite it costing that much money, it was in theaters for more than 9 months. And as a result, replacement reels had to be sent out because people had worn through their copies.
Looking at that piston scene, no
No
doubt.
doubt, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the stuff.
That's the stuff. Some people seeing that piston scene 9 months later, they're taking a baby to the showing of Titanic. You know
See
what I
the
mean?
piston scene.
To see the piston scene,
Yeah.
correct, yes.
It had 14 Oscar nominations and it won 11. Harrison Ford actually demanded that they moved the release of Air Force One from the same day because it was like, we might be in trouble here. But do you know what was released on the same day? The Postman. And it destroyed not only that movie, but I feel like the career of Kevin Costner for a while.
Maybe.
That was the end of the big
You
budget.
sure that wasn't The Postman that destroyed Kevin Costner's career?
Well,
the movie The Postman.
yeah,
that
maybe
he was
you're right.
In? The post-apocalyptic postman who had to go across a blighted landscape to still deliver the mail.
Which was just Waterworld, except he was a postman or whatever.
Correct, yes.
But that was really the end of the big Kevin Costner epic, you know?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So in its initial run, it made $1.8 billion, but with re-release, it has made 2.2 in total. When you don't adjust for inflation, this is still the third highest grossing movie of all time. The returns on this were massive. And James Cameron actually forfeited his $8 million salary up front as a director for a percentage of the initial gross because the studio were concerned and they were like, we're not going to make any money back on this, we think anyway, fuck it. Let's let him give up his share. But massive mistake, yeah. Anyways, I genuinely think... and
They make a lot on merch? I'm genuinely Googling right now to see if there's
Probably.
Titanic Funko Pops. Here we go.
Let's find
Yes,
out.
there are.
Who we got?
Rose and Jack.
Billy Zane?
Just says Rose and Jack here.
The guy who built the ship who was sad, and every now and then Rose would run past him and he'd be looking at a clock being sad.
Sad Victor Garber. Yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's got one. Yeah.
What about those children that drown with their mother in a bed? Did they get a Funko Pop?
Yep.
Great.
Yep. And
What about Billy Zane shooting himself after the Wall Street crash?
yeah, Depression era, the Great Depression era. Billy Zane shooting himself. Yeah, he's got one. Got two alternate heads.
Wow.
Swap it out. Yeah. So does Jeanette Goldstein's character. She's got two swappable heads.
Oh, that's great
One's
stuff.
Mexican. One's Mexican.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyways, Mason, now you'd probably disagree because you've only just seen this. I think this might be his best movie.
Not Terminator 2.
I love Terminator 2, but I think this just, again, all the quadrants work for me, Mason.
Right.
Everybody's so charming in it. It shouldn't work, and yet
Okay.
it does. I just think if you add, and I know there's people who might come at this, and I know definitely at the time who are like, ugh, the love story, I could take or leave that. But I think even if you took that out,
Sure, right.
this would still work.
Just a sinking ship.
Just a sinking ship and just the panic and the people
Yeah.
and getting to know everybody and all that. I think it still works.
See, I would have preferred if they were going to take one thing out, it'd be the sinking ship. I prefer to just see the love story, and then they're like, "Well, we got to New York. We'll go."
So they
And
changed the ending of
no,
Titanic?
Rose and
Jack.
get off the boat at a waypoint.
Yep.
And then they leave, and then the ship sinks, and they read about it in the paper.
And they go, huh,
Yeah.
I knew some of the people on that.
Yeah.
I knew Victor Garber.
And then Rose meets a guy at a 7-Eleven, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go on a date?" She's like, "I'm married. How dare you?" Scooching up on me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to get in on this. Well, I'm married to Jack What's His Face.
Dawson.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. There was a Jay Dawson actually on the ship.
Oh.
Yeah. But unrelated and dead. Mason,
Go on.
do you want to hint towards next week?
Yes.
It's Avatar.
Huh.
Yeah. Which I haven't seen in a long time.
Same.
I don't remember loving it. I am interested to revisit it, though. I'll tell you that much, Mason. But if people want to see that early, of course they would. They can actually head over to bigsandwich.co, where guess what?
What?
There's early videos. There's bonus podcasts. There's movie commentaries. Our podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, goes up there a day early on Sunday as opposed to Monday. But of course, you can just listen to that on regular wherever's in it.
That's right. You can become a mission specialist over at bigsandwich.co for $9 per month.
You don't need to pay
$125,000.
$125,000 for that.
Just become a big sandwich mission specialist.
In the long term, you would if you
Yeah.
subscribed long enough.
You just want to send us $125,000.
Oh, that's
we'll
fine
take
too.
it.
Yeah. Great.
Everybody's money is good there, except the Irish. Just kidding. I love the Irish.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Grab that jam, you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.